Hey, what's up? How's it? Aloha. Welcome to Culturize. This is the space where we get to share, talk, and learn culture, whether it's ethnic, whether it's native, whether it's social. This is that place where, sometimes you want to find culture, you want to get into culture, but you really don't know where and how, and this is where we do it. But because we are a cultured show, as we were taught, everything we do that is special, of course, we start with protocol, and this is no different because we've got special guests. Hele mailo gawai ke mahala malama ua mahali mali pa kainu vai ke inu maila na halo na wiki kai no na we ta hala no puna tawahine no talua no ikilawe alohai mai kai mahalo to both of you being here. Okay, go ahead. Of course, our lei kukui. It's always funny because when some people have messaged me, oh, you just give them lei kukui. It's become this thing, right? We all have lei kukui, but yes, you see it in Walmart. Yes, you see it, but the importance of lei kukui, just to remind you, is that the kukui representing knowledge and this torch and this light of knowledge, and where do we store our knowledge is in our po'o. So this knowledge is constantly around our po'o. So that's the lei kukui. So next time you use it, don't hang it on your rearview mirror because your car doesn't think you do. So first of all, mahalo you guys for being here. I know you guys are busy. Today we're talking education, right? Consuelo, Trevor, thank you guys. Really quick, just tell everybody where you folks work and together at.
Hālau Kumana Public Charter School.
Hālau Kumana Public Charter School. Getting right into it. I don't know if you guys want to answer this. We'll wait for that question because the question was going to be what's missing from traditional DOE schools. But what is culture to you? What is culture to you?
Culture? Wow, that's a loaded question because I grew up on the island of Lāna'i, and my background is actually, my parents' background is Filipino, but we all grew up the Hawaiian style, right? Because, had kupuna who took care of us. So culture is actually your values that you grew up with. And I hold true to Filipino, Japanese, and Hawaiian culture.
I like it.
Because that's the ethnicities that was around me when I was growing up.
What is culture to you?
Yeah, I've thought quite a bit on that question as well. I think at our school we try to make sure that they understand that it's not the things that maybe you're looking at, like the lo'i and the va'a and the hula. It's the things that are happening in your everyday life all the time that you're not aware of, like watching NFL on Sunday, eating 3 meals a day, going to the movies when the movies come out, singing Disney songs. Whatever's happening in your daily life, that's your culture.
I like that because you in there you said it's what you're not aware of, right? Which is again a Hawaiian concept. So both of you, growing up, when it came to culture, whatever culture it was, whether it's native, ethnic, or the things that we don't know, were your parents blatant about teaching you things like this is how you do it, or did we have to use our kilo skills? We had to observe? Was that how it was for you growing up?
I didn't recognize the things that were Hawaiian about the way I grew up until I went to Hālau Kumana and I saw other people doing it, and I thought, oh, that's why we did things that way.
Yeah.
Right? That's why we line up the slippers. That's why we close the door.
I love that.
And I was in school yesterday, I was telling them, raise your hand. How many of you guys, when you go to a party, you have to aloha everybody, even the auntie that always kiss you the wet one on the lips. And they all raise their hand, and it's like, that's cultural.
My son hates that phrase, alohaku, everybody. Yes. Right? We're growing up on Lāna'i, because a lot of times our parents really didn't tell us, right? We had to observe, like what they did. Like even how you're saying, line up the slippers. Us kids, we just take them off, leave them, right? Were you also that way? Were your mom and dad and grandparents taught you, or you just had to observe what they did?
We had to observe.
Right.
A lot of it was observation. Come with me. So my daddy was the rice cooker at the Filipino clubhouse, right? So every Saturday, party tomorrow. I'm like, okay, do your chores. and then get over there and just watch. That's all we did. He never was like, don't touch.
It's crazy because no matter what your ethnic background is, we always had, as kids, we had to kilo, we had to observe. That's how we learned. So if you're joining us, welcome to Culturized. Hit the notification bell, subscribe to us. If you have any questions about the culture of learning, I think that's what I'm going to call this one, culture of learning, and how important culture is in learning and teaching our kids right here on Culturized. Bringing you what matters. Viewers can receive the Star Advertiser digital full access subscription for just $9.95 per month. Go to staradvertiser.com and click on subscribe. Use the code AHITHING. Bank of Hawaii. Welcome to tomorrow. Member FDIC. Hey, thanks a lot for joining us. This is Culturized. The culture of learning, that's what we're talking about. Our good friends from Hālau Kumana are here. Now let's throw out this question. What do you, as teachers, as educators, what do you folks think is missing from traditional, I guess, DOE schools? I mean, can you? We just got to be honest. But that's, right? What do you think is missing?
The culture.
Nice.
I came from DOE.
Right.
So I spent 5 years in DOE. I've been at Kumana. How long have you been at Kumana?
Nice.
Like 14 years. Like the culture. Like a lot of people are like acclimate to the culture around you, right? Like this is the protocols for wherever you are.
Was that what brought you over from, and it's weird to say that's what brought you over from a traditional school, right?
No, that's what I call it. And Western thinking,
right.
Western education, and that's where I came from. When I came to Kumana, I came to the campus. I was like, I'm home.
Was it like a I don't know if this sounds right, an educational culture shock, coming from a traditional DOE school into a place-based
and it's interesting you say that because I'm the intake grades.
Oh, no way.
So I'm the 4th and 5th graders who come in and they're like, whoa, where did my parents put me?
No,
like,
so even that. So even
that,
up to 3rd grade, they're already realizing like, what? I got to take out my slipper and go to Lāna'i. What?
Right. No, and yes, they walk in with their slippers. I'm like, you're like at my house. Take kalipas off and put them outside.
So you do the intake. Trevor, do you see visually when these new kids come in? Is it a culture shock to them, or how difficult is it, or how long does it take them to acclimate into a place-based, culturally based school?
I think she has the hardest job because her entire class is primarily coming out of the public schools because we start in 4th grade and go up to 12th grade, and that's just because of the genealogy of how our school is started.
So you actually have to get them ready before they sit with him, right?
So
you're like standing in the kahawai, like, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Wow.
Well, every teacher's kind of responsible for get them a little bit more ready for the next grade. But for us in the upper grades, we always get 2, 3, 4, 5 new students, but there's already the critical mass. So the rest of the class already knows, line up, Oli into class. And the other 5, you asked how long it takes. I would say they figure it out in about 5 minutes.
Right? Yeah.
See, here I am thinking I'm sitting in front of you folks, and my when I was like, I'm asking you guys how you transition from a traditional school. I didn't even think, holy moly, the kids got to transition.
Yeah.
So she sets the tone in the early grades, and then everybody else just kind of falls in line. And it's because we have that critical mass. Like everybody's on board. Like you stand out if you're not on board.
You get the looks. Like
you that one 5th grader standing on the side of the load, and everybody's inside.
Yeah.
So you obviously that's interesting because I didn't think that's right. The kids really need to transition. Speaking of students, yes, it's a place-based, culturally based school. Is it safe to say that it is the host culture, Hawaii, that is the base of the school? Or because you guys have a lot of different ethnicities in the school, student-wise, right?
I don't know how other folks feel, but host culture never sat well with me because it insinuates that Hawaiians wanted to host everybody. And it's a convenient term.
That is wow, I like that.
But Hawaiian culture is at the center of the school, and yet I feel like it's a safe place for lots of different things, and not just different ethnicities, but also different sexualities at our school, different ages at our school. Like I think it's not a scary place for be held back a grade or for be a little different than the crowd.
So I know you talked about you're dealing with the intake of fourth graders, right? But between both of you guys are working with all grades or just specific? Are you specific to fourth?
Fourth and fifth.
And then
he's specific.
And then
to
I'm specific to the eighth grade. So each teacher
is. So you get those ones who know everything.
If you're coming from a public school perspective, it's kind of like we took homeroom and turned it into like most of the curriculum. So cool. I'm the eighth grade homeroom teacher. She's the fourth and fifth grade homeroom teacher. That's cool. The older they get, the more they can mix, the more they see other teachers. Like you did in high school, you go from class to class, but you kind of stuck with your homeroom teacher for a good portion of the week.
Yeah.
The culture in learning, the culture of learning. This is what we're doing. We're talking with our friends from Hālau Kumana, and we'll get into a lot of other things. Charter schools. It's the big thing. So if you're joining us, hit the notification bell, subscribe. Any comments you have, do that right down below. We are doing Culture Unculturized. Thanks for joining us. This show was sponsored by Hawaiian Telcom, Hawaii's technology leader. For all your money needs, Hawaiian Financial Federal Credit Union is here for you. Visit hificu.com. That's hi-fi, letter C, letter U.com. Hey, thanks a lot for joining us. This is Culturized. This is the space where we get to share, teach, and learn culture. And of course, teaching, and we know how important that is. We're sitting with our good friends from Hālau Kumana, and I always have to give props, and you should give props to educators and teachers, especially the traditional ones in schools, because if you really think about it, as parents, maybe we hang out with our kids for a couple hours a day, waking hours. You guys are with them for 6, 7, 8 hours a day. I don't know how you guys do it, but you do. So first of all, mahalo for that. Hālau Kumana is in the name. It's a public charter school. How long have charter schools been around, just in general?
We just turned 20 as a movement for the most part. So in 1999, there was legislation that was being pushed by multiple folks in Hawaiʻi, and a large contingent of that was Hawaiian folks. And we got to mention Auntie Kuka Hakalau and Uncle Nale, because they're the ones that tapped a lot of people's shoulders. Hey, this is our chance. We can use this as a place to, reculturize schools to be a more Hawaiian place of learning.
I like that. Now, I know it was their mana'o, but how? I always like to think, what were they thinking? Like you just said, it has to be a place of Hawaiian learning, because it just makes sense. 20 years of charter schools. How many charter schools right now in Hawaii?
I believe there's 37, somewhere around there. No way. And about half of them are Hawaiian focused. Yeah.
And the other question I have is the Hawaiian focused ones, you still have to follow DOE, right? Or no?
No.
Not at all.
Unless you're testing.
There's a lot of layers.
Okay, so I know. I just opened up a can of freaking worms. But testing, because I'm thinking there's DOE things you have to follow, so you'd have to translate DOE tests for the students, or no? That's just all.
First of all, I think the main thing that people don't understand about Hawaiian focused charter schools is that we're not all Hawaiian language, right? So we're an English speaking school that focuses on Hawaiian culture. So we don't necessarily need to translate the test in terms of the language, although the test is still full of racist concepts.
I remember when I was at UH and I was taking ethnic studies, and she did, unbeknownst to us, she gave us this test, right? And she gave, and you're taking this test going, none of this stuff has to do with me. And of course, we all took it. We did bad. And at the end of the thing, she goes, you see how race-based or ethnically these tests are, right? And you're like, wow, I didn't realize. So that totally makes sense. In charter schools, so about 20 years, did they have charter schools on the mainland? Did they?
Yes.
So, yes.
They started in 88 in like Michigan or Wisconsin.
And then they came to Hawaii.
And it was, I think, originally introduced by Republicans as a way to kind of decentralize education, and then the extreme liberals got a hold of it too, and so you find charter schools that are extremely conservative and extremely liberal in America, whereas here in Hawaii, I feel like a lot of them are fairly liberal.
Right.
That's a trip. That it would become like everything else becomes political, right? Between the two of you, and you both answer, how important is culture in education?
Super important. I
Right.
think that's the way kids learn. I mean, if it wasn't, and that's why they come to our school, right? We take them out there, we're hands-on, place-based learning, and that's the way, I mean, that's the way I learned. I don't know about you guys, but
Right.
if I get my hands
Right.
in
Do
the
the work.
aina and do the work, it makes sense to me. Whereas, I get it. We gotta do the
Right.
book, and we gotta do the paper. We gotta do all of that. But I think it's more meaningful when we introduce the culture and just doing stuff in the aina, or, and the two of us, when we do our curriculum focus is not just on the Hawaiian culture, but where do you come from?
Exactly. Yeah.
Who are you? Like, we're going to focus on you, and then we can take a look at what's out there.
I like that because it reminds me of this story, and I'll let you touch on that, but it reminds me of this story that Uncle Kamaki Kanahele told me when he graduated from college, and he was so excited that he had his degree and his master's. So he flies home to Ni'ihau, and he tells his tutu, "Oh, look, I got a degree. He goes to the tutu, "Oh, for what?" "Oh," he goes, "Oh, you just read books. The book said you're smart." And so his tutu took him out, go get the va'a, took him out to the middle of the ocean, and said, "Where's your books?" He goes, "Oh, they're on the shelf." He goes, "What's your books on the shelf going to do for you now?" Right? It's like, so those are the things. We're talking culture and learning, how important it is. Our friends from Hālau Kumana are here. I love this. This is Culturized. Hit the notification button. Subscribe to us if you're watching on KKI 50. Thank you so much for doing that. Let us know what you think. We are talking culture and learning with Hālau Kumana on Culturized.
Culturized, brought to you by Beachside Roofing, the leaders. Poncho Solar is specialized in providing energy solutions throughout Hawaii since 1987. Call us at 808-773-7384.
Hey, welcome back to Culturized. My name is Makani. I got to thank Sundot for providing me the papale fish flags, making my lauoho look better than it should. So we're talking about the culture of education, and Hālau Kumana is here. We asked the question, how important is culture in education? I want to get your mana on that because place-based. Do you see that kids learn better outside or inside?
I think it depends on the child. I think the cool thing about charter schools is they're all different, right? And so we're not saying that Hālau Kumana is good for everybody. We're saying it's good for our community. There used to be over 1,000 schools in Hawaii, and now we're down to 250.
Really?
So, and that's one of our co-founders, Noi Goodyear, Ka'opua's research found that, basically when Hawaiian language and the English language was written down, like it was, broadcast in every different community, and that meant that the people in each of their own communities taught their own kids. And so we're not necessarily trying to take kids out of their homes and teach them something different. We're trying to support what's at home, right? The parents are the first teachers. You said they only have a couple hours with you, but those couple hours with you is way more than we ever get across because the parents are the first kumu.
But see, lately I've been getting mad at a lot of parents because when the kid isn't so-called learning, they're gonna blame you guys, which is weird to me. Wait, hold on. What?
Usually that's an incongruence of culture, right? And you talked about, do we need culture in schools? Culture is in every school. That's what school is. School is the center of culture. It tells you what culture. And so we're just trying to create an alternative culture. Unfortunately, this used to be the culture in Hawaii, but now it's an alternative school.
I know that word, even in our healing practices, like, can you integrate? Wait, what? No. I like that because you're supporting the parent, and sometimes there's some parents out there that need to think that way. I'm supporting the teacher, kikahi, but sometimes we forget that. And we talk about ethnicities. Does it get to a point where because we can always learn from kids too. Are there students of different ethnicities that actually come and share what they know in their ethnicities as well?
Oh, yeah. Like I said, we always start with the child, right? Like, who are you? Where are you from? Like, he does a great lesson on mapping out. Is it you? Yeah. Mapping out where their kupuna came from.
No way. I like
Yeah,
that.
so, I start with just the immediate family up to grandparents. I don't know how far back you go, but, by the time they get to 12th grade, as many generations back as they want to, they can do it. They spew out their mo'oku auhau, right?
Do you find that some kids are like blown away, like pu'iwa, like, well, I didn't even know.
Oh, I mean, so we do
All of them?
we do mo'oku auhau, we do genealogy every year. And every year where they go a little bit deeper, and every year they blow their mind. And meanwhile, we're doing it every year, and I blew my mind this year. I found out something about my genealogy. I had no idea.
Isn't that? I love that.
So it's like this is just should be part of your practice, is to always look at where you're from and go deeper and deeper.
Right.
And our students are from so many different backgrounds. Like, I think mainstream culture is trying to racialize it as Hawaiians and non-Hawaiians. At our school, we're not trying to figure out who's Hawaiian, who's not Hawaiian. We're trying to figure out who are you, who are your 8 great grandparents, right? And how much do you know about them? And that's what culture is, right? Not just what blood quantum and what side of the line are you on.
Iki mau popo pono'i, like who are you? Self-identity, who are you? And it's funny because even in the healing practices, that's what we do. We have to get the person to realize who they are before we even out with them, right? It's like I cannot. You need to know. That's pretty amazing. And because I also have some students at the Healing Center that would look at me and go, oh, but like you were saying, I'm not Hawaiian. I said, but I didn't say anything about being Hawaiian. I said everything about being cultural. So I want you to go find out who you are. And it's funny, I had this one boy that figured out he was Scandinavian. He was like, I'm a Viking. Hello, right? And then the pride kicks in.
Yeah. Right.
Anyway, so if you're joining us, we are talking culture and learning. If you want the extended version, we get a little bit more into it. It's on our YouTube. Hit the notification bell, subscribe if you're watching on KKAI channel 50. Don't forget, culturize.com, our YouTube channel, Culturize. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you guys very much for being here. Hālau kumana and Culturized. Hey, what's going on? Thanks a lot for joining us. My name is Makani. This is Culturized. If you're joining us on YouTube, this is the extended version. If you caught us previously, we were talking about the culture in learning, charter schools. I think it was probably the most brilliant thing that's ever happened. No offense, Lahaina Luna. Right? I know. But the concept of these charter schools, it just makes sense because, like you were saying earlier, Jeff, you're learning from your parents, and I think a lot of times, I don't know if you guys agree with me or not, but sometimes parents don't think they're educators. But it's funny because they're educating and the kids are picking up these things, but all the wrong things, right? When it comes to that, when Hālau kumana, do you also have to educate the parent? Is there things that you do, like, hey, parents' night, for some of you every night, right? Are there things that you include the ohana?
Oh, yes. We have Saturday school. We call it La Ohana.
No way.
4 times a year, every quarter. The first one, we get introduced to the school. The parents get introduced. The second one, they get introduced to the project. And then the third and fourth one is ho'ike. Ho'ike, right? Like, the parents got it. And
is that required?
Yes, Amakua has to be there. And it's a school day for them.
I like that.
Yeah, so
full school day.
Yeah, no, it's
you should. I think
there's no punishment for not show up now.
What?
Don't tell them. But
they're
not watching the show. They're not watching your show.
No, they will be now. There's going to be a punishment.
But
their punishment is their kid's not going to grow up smart.
We don't need punishment because they all come.
Yeah.
Because deep down, if you send your child to a particular school, that's probably because you actually want to know what's going on, and the parents, I think, are more ono than the kids.
They are.
So that was my next question: is like, do you find parents that are like, I need to come here every day?
No,
right?
Yeah. Well, I was like that. My own kids. So I have 3 of my kiki
You're
there.
like, you know what? How were when your kids were there before you started teaching? Or no, at the same time?
No, before. So they grew up at
like,
Kumana.
Wait, you're gonna come to my school?
That's why I think we're maybe like the longest tenured staff.
Yeah.
Like,
how long
we have folks that have been 10, 15 years, 20 years together.
Yeah.
And it's because we're the greediest Haumana.
Right.
Like,
We want to, right.
okay, if you wanna
learn.
stick around, be a parent. But if you really wanna stick around, be a teacher.
I love that.
And we've been just soaking
I
it up
love
for over a decade. You know.
Sometimes I run away from my room and I'm like, I'm going to go to Hana now. Take that class.
What's a typical day at Hālau for the student? What's a typical day? What time does the day start?
8:15, they start logging in for opening protocol.
What does that involve? Because
we talking COVID or non-COVID?
We'll do pre. We'll do pre.
Pre-COVID?
Yeah, we'll do pre.
I mean, we can talk.
Everybody comes together.
I like it.
And that goes for, I think, most of our Hawaiian focused charter schools. They call it Pico. We call it Vehe. Everybody comes together. They ask permission to come in. We chant together for, safety, for forgiveness, for healing, for whatever we need that day.
And that would be olikahea. So do you guys have a specific olikahea to Hālau kumana? Nice. So is it you folks, all the students, po'ai, right, in a circle, and then you folks olikomo them?
Aye.
I like that. I think every school, whether... to me, it doesn't matter what kind of school it is. I think you just need to, right? Because I tell people all the time, just walk in somebody's house, sit on the couch, and go, "I'm here."
Right.
You got to give me the opportunity to stand behind the couch and be like, "No, tell them I'm not here." You're not gonna get an olikomo.
Right.
So what time do you guys vehe? At 8:15?
At 8:30 now.
8:30 now.
We pushed our school day back from 8 o'clock
like
because
it.
we was getting all kind of tardies, and you know what? No more tardies.
How smart is that? Hold on.
Not 7:45.
No, but just the fact that the school usually always makes the rules. Oh, you guys tardy. Oh, we'll make them more early then. Oh, how about we lock you out instead of just going.
You know what's better than lockout is you got to chant for
Right.
come in.
See that's what I mean. I like it's either not lockout. You got you and if it was me, I would probably make them go like 2 times.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, wait.
You do?
There's some we make them do them 6 times.
6,
Serious.
7. We're like, no.
all hour.
Yeah.
So if you're watching, so imagine where Hālau Kumana is, right? It's beautiful Makiki right at the bottom of Ualaka'a, right by the kahawai. So the keiki has to stand in front where the you drive in, and they olikahea from there. That's brilliant. No, if you had to olikahea first, you would never be late.
No.
And I'm thinking to myself, except those students who want to be ho'opa'a. They go, I'm going late because I got to practice my oli.
And it's not just the students, it's us too.
So if you guys
we're
are
Lohi,
nice. Wow.
we need to stand with
Really?
the Lohi kids and we have to oli into
That's cool. And who oli komos you folks? The kids.
the kids.
Whoever's there on time. Yeah.
I love that. So vehe happens at 8:30, and then from there, what happens?
Well, there's certain days where we have, 6 periods a day. And so it looks, from the surface, it probably looks like any other public school. But underneath the surface, the way we teach U.S. history is going to be a little bit different.
Oh, I like that.
We do teach U.S. history just from a critical perspective.
I like that.
The way we teach science is not going to look the same. On paper, it might look the same. But come inside our class, come see what we're actually talking about. It's a little different. Language arts, you can teach in so many different ways. And so those periods aren't quite the same as what you'd find at a public school.
Who comes up with that curriculum? Collectively, as you guys are teaching? Wow.
All of us.
So you will look at, let's just say a traditional DOE school, language arts, and you would look at, okay, what is the cultural parallel? How can we teach this concept in a culture? Wow, that's pretty amazing. So you guys, you're constantly creating.
It's a lot harder than
I was
just read
gonna
the
say.
script.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I and another thing I do, I work in health and wellness, and I had to create a curriculum for addiction, and I had to look at the Western side of how they treat addiction, and I had to look at the cultural parallel. I'm like, I don't even know, because then you run into problems where it may sound ironic or against what they're teaching, but I give you guys credit for that. So you go into these classes, average 6 periods a day?
Yeah, just about. But then the thing we want to highlight, and our favorite day, everybody's favorite day is what we call Project Day. or place-based inquiry day, which we just changed to Aloha Aina Education
Day.
I like it.
And on that day, instead of having the 6 periods all divided out, it's completely interdisciplinary, right? So it's just thematic. We have a driving question in every grade. We have a theme in every grade. For example, her theme is Kīhāpai, which is how to take care of your backyard.
Right.
No way.
Yeah.
My
Small
theme-
garden. Right.
Kokula Uka, so how to interact with the uplands. We have Papa Va'a, we have Papa Lo'i, we have Papa Hanano'eo. And the teacher basically has the freedom to lean on whatever resources they have in their own personal life, books, music, friends, and kind of tie it all into that theme.
Now, with that, that's, you say once a week?
Day and a half. Yeah.
Wow, that's kind of cool. Now, will it eventually go to like more days incorporated in between the traditional?
Oh, we wish. So when we started,
See, that's because I'm just imagining going to school and flipping it around where I'm in the vahi, but sitting on one log doing language arts or doing history.
so it was when we first got to Kumana, it was 3 days a week.
Wow.
And the other 2 days was
Classes.
Regular classes. But then,
That's I love that.
So we talked about 20 years ago charter school law. That was the year 2000. 2001 was No Child Left Behind, and so that was layered on top of
See,
what
that
we
was
were
the
doing.
thing, because you guys had to figure out how to take that and put it into your curriculum.
So our charter said we can do whatever we said we're gonna do, and then the next year was, but you're gonna take this test. And so there was pressure for close us down, and in some of our schools we did lost.
that.
Yeah, rest in peace, Hālau Lokahi.
Yeah.
right.
And they still coming after us. They still trying to
Really?
shut our schools down. They still putting pressure on us. They changed our charter, so now we're on a contract. And every couple of years they change the contract and the requirements change.
Every 5
And what
years.
do? They just come in and they look at you guys. You guys not doing this. Oh no, but you got to do this.
You got 2 years or 3 years for fix this.
I didn't realize the behind the classroom stuff you guys got to deal with. Man.
And of course, we're getting about 60% of the money that a public school gets
Right.
per child, and without buildings, without buses, without food, without cafeteria.
Which is crazy, but I think to myself, but the place that you guys are located, that vahi is, it's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Hālau Kumana, if you're joining us, this is Culturize. Hit the notification bell. You got any questions for them? If you want to send your child, hey, get in touch with them. Culture and learning, I think it's very important. So mahalo for everything that you guys are doing in that sense of charter schools and bringing back and making sure that not just Hawaiian culture, but and everybody's cultures are recognized in the way you teach. So mahalo if you guys are making time. Thank you for joining us on the extended version of YouTube. Again, hit the notification bell, subscribe. Thanks a lot for joining us. The website, culturize.com.